Greetings. Welcome to Growth Hacking Secrets. I'm your host, Muhammad Siddique from Atlanta, Georgia, and the co author of New Success Secrets available on Amazon. On this episode, we have a special guest, Vince Menzione. Vince is the host of Ultimate Guide to Partnering podcast. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Vince. Vince, welcome.
Thank you very much, Siddique. I'm delighted to be here today. Thank you for hosting me.
Vince, let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who you were surrounded with that inspired you to start your consulting company, Ultimate Guide to Partnering?
Well, Siddique, I've described my career as 4 successful transformations in the tech sector. I started out in the early days of wireless computing before Wi-Fi, helped build a business from 6 million to 125 million. We went public on the Toronto Exchange. I learned quite a bit about what makes successful selling and building an organization from the ground up. I followed one of the leaders from that organization after the company was successfully sold to do a turnaround in the rugged notebook computer space. And that company was Panasonic's largest competitor. In fact, they had started before Panasonic, but they didn't have any market share in Panasonic's largest market, which was selling to the government and to public safety. And so they asked me to start up a new division within the company. And I realized that in order to go sell to the government, in order to build credibility, in order to create success within that market, we had less than $1 million in run rate revenue at the time. I needed partnerships in order to drive that success. So I spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill, meeting with legislators. I found the companies that had the best influence strategies, that had the relationships with the generals, with the cabinet leaders, with all of the people that I needed to work with in order to make my product successful. And I also needed government contracts, which we didn't have. And a lot of these organizations had successful contract vehicles, GSA contracts and the like. So I utilized partners to build a new business model. And we were very successful. Within 26 months, we took the business from under $1 million to $30 million in revenue. Along the way, I formed a partnership with General Dynamics, which is one of the large defense contractors. Ultimately, General Dynamics acquired the company. We were spun out by Golden Gate Capital. And so after that, Microsoft recruited me to lead its partner strategy for the U.S. public sector business, which was a $4.6 billion business across the federal government, state and local government, education, and healthcare. So for 9 years, I was Microsoft's general manager for this $4.6 billion business. I was steeped in the partner business. Microsoft is probably the most partner-centric technology company, 350,000 partners in the Microsoft ecosystem. And when I left Microsoft at the end of 2016, I started listening to podcasts. I didn't even know about podcasts before that, but I realized it was a great way to learn new information, get great ideas, and learn while I was doing other things like, riding my bike or exercising at the gym and so on. I found that nobody was really focusing in on this really important sector for these 350,000 partners. So I launched Ultimate Guide to Partnering. In fact, it was our 4-year anniversary just this past weekend. And we started the podcast up, really started to interview people that I knew within the Microsoft ecosystem, a lot of friends, leaders in Microsoft, to help partners better understand how to engage with the tech giant. I also expanded out. I've had people from Google, Amazon, Salesforce, and other technology giants on the podcast. And I also have featured partners that have gotten it right working with the tech giants. From that point forward, I also then went and joined one of my clients. I started consulting. This led to a lot of consulting engagements. And then one of my clients was the largest software company in the nonprofit space. I joined that organization and helped them with their partner strategy. When COVID hit, I became more convinced now than ever that I could support a lot of organizations and really help them with their partnering strategies. So I relaunched the podcast. We started back up again in July. We've done 30 some odd episodes so far this year. And I've had some amazing, amazing leaders in the tech sector come to the podcast to share operating principles, success strategies, and how we all can thrive and survive, especially during this time that we were all facing now, this new world that we're living in since COVID. Podcast has been a huge success. We're number 107 in tech news on Apple and rising. And my business is thriving as well. I'm doing workshops for Microsoft partners, and spend a lot of time coaching these organizations on how to be more successful working as partners with the tech giants.
Oh, that's a Vince. That's an amazing story. Oh my God! Congrats! I'm so proud of you that you are my guest on this growth hacking secret show today. So
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited. I'm as you could tell, I'm very passionate about this subject because
yeah,
I've seen organizations get it right, and I've seen so many organizations not get it right. So,
yeah, we are. You are about to spill a bean. We are about to get into that one right now. So, what are the top three mistakes to avoid to build a successful partnership with other big giants?
So I've spent all this time, 9 years at Microsoft, working, coaching all these organizations. All of my guests that come on the podcast, I ask them what makes successful partnerships, and when they fail, like when they have, what's that kryptonite? Like, why did they fail? Why did those partnerships fail? And it really boils down to, I'll call it 3 areas of focus. One of them is around culture. Organizations that don't have a partner strategy often don't have a growth mindset. They don't have the right attitudinal behavior to successful partnering. They don't have commitment within their organizations. They may not put the right level of focus in on the partnership. They treat it as, well, maybe we'll partner with these other companies, but really their strategy is to sell directly versus partnering with other organizations to drive increased success. So that's one key area of focus. Another area where I find that organizations fail is trust. Trust is a huge factor in the success of any relationship, right? We talked earlier about marriage. I equate partnerships very much to marriage. Underlying all of that needs to be trust. Organizations need to trust one another. They need to be able to share opportunities and feel that the partner won't go in with a different organization to try and sell that account. So there's this whole level of trust that needs to happen. And the third area, oddly enough, is around not being aggressive enough in the partnership. I find that a lot of organizations will have meetings with Microsoft and say, we have a great solution. Let's go to market together. I call it the kumbaya meeting. Everybody says, yeah, that's great. Let's go do it. And then nothing happens because nobody follows up. Nobody applies the focus necessary on the follow-up to ensure what I call the traction, or where the rubber meets the road with the partnership. So those 3 areas seem to be the most prevalent areas where partnerships fail.
You put it the right way. Very concise, to the point. Is a great. So I know I loved it. Hopefully you're watching this. You want to learn more from this, and keep watching because we are about to share something in more nuggets with you. So Vince, what are your greatest story of a failure? What are your greatest failure story of a partnering? What did you learn from it, and how did you recover from that?
I've had more than one failure. I talked about the 4 transformations. For every single one of those transformations, there was failure embedded into those. So I'll share probably the most recent one.
Okay.
And it's what made me the most convicted about why organizations needed to get it right. Like because I had spent this entire career driving sales success, building businesses, both a startup, a turnaround, 9 years at Microsoft. And then when I left Microsoft and I went into an organization that was a $1 billion company, a top Microsoft partner, I found that they didn't get it right. And I came in as a consultant and probably should have stayed as the consultant to the organization and not become a full-time employee. And what I found is, in the role that I am as a coach, as an independent coach, I can say things to my clients that other people won't say or can't say. Once you go on somebody's payroll, once you become a full-time employee in that organization, I find your IQ goes down about 50 points because now you're one of them. You're no longer the expert that came in to help them solve for their problems.
Can you repeat the same thing? I'm going to listen it carefully.
It's so true. It is so true. People don't recognize. So now when COVID happened, I became more convinced. I wrote a manifesto on what makes successful partnerships. I've created a framework around 8 operating principles of what makes successful partnerships. And I'm more convinced now than ever about why organizations need to drive across each of these principles. And so what I learned is I'm more valuable to organizations in this capacity and in this role as Ultimate Partnerships and the host of the Ultimate Guide to Partnering podcast, because I can share truth, I can share principles, and I can be an independent voice to those organizations. And I can sit down with the CEO of the company and have a candid and honest conversation, unfiltered, and not feel that I can't share that information. And sometimes when you're in an organization and you're in a chain of command, you don't feel empowered to have those conversations.
That's a great deep learning,
Well, it's what they called the school of hard knocks, right? You learn through some of the scars we all have on our backs over our lifetime.
We all have it. So, Vince, let's keep moving based on our time. What are the top 3 success secrets? Promise us you're going to give us your best one when it comes to ultimate guide to successful partnering for long-lasting results.
Absolutely. I talked about this framework, right? So I convinced and convicted in what makes successful partnerships. I've created these operating principles, and it's basically a flywheel. And you can go to my website, ultimateguidetopartnering.com, and you can see it. It's on one of the pages, Get Results. But I basically break it down into 3 areas of focus, like what makes over these learnings from 4 transformations, the 9 years at Microsoft, all of the work I've done with top partners, both with Microsoft and other technology giants. I believe there's 3 operating areas. The first one is getting partnerships right. You need to begin with a process. You need to understand each other, introspection on your organization. Why do you want to partner? Reflect on your current state of your business. What are the goals and objectives that you want to achieve with the partner? And then also getting your mindset right. Like I spent a lot of time, I worked with Satya Nadella, who's an amazing leader. And we all talked about mindset and having a growth mindset. And that's one of the key operating principles of what makes a successful partnership. Having a growth mindset, a forward mindset on getting the partnership right. So getting the partnership right is first. Second is optimizing for success. So often we have a great meeting, we have all great intentions, and we have a vision, but you need to get the vision down to a specific set of business objectives, key result areas, and measurable outcomes. And organizations fail here. In fact, I've become a big proponent of OKRs, objectives and key results, which is something that John Doerr, the business leader who was with Kleiner Perkins and Intel, he's espoused this whole set of principles about objectives and key results. You need to get very focused on the business, maniacal focus, I call it, on the business. So that's how you need to optimize for success. And then at the end of the day, the third principle is around delivering results. Successful partnerships take that why, like what we want to do, that vision, the core set of metrics, and they apply it to traction and maximizing and delivering results. And that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where, as executives, we decide we want to go do this. But at the field level, people that are selling the technology need to work together. And you need to drive the right behaviors, and you need to measure the results and inspect what you expect out of the business. And so getting to that level of delivery of results ultimately makes the partnership work, and it continues to feed the growth and success of the partnership.
Wonderful. Growth mindset, shared vision, and deliver results. Wow, this is absolutely cool. I'm sure people can learn a lot more from you. The people who are watching this now, how they can support you, how they can learn more about partnering, because it's a lot more than 3. We can't cover everything.
Well, I first say come to ultimateguidetopartnering.com. You will find there's 91 podcasts. We release every Tuesday. I have amazing leaders from the tech sector come to the podcast. They instruct our listeners on their business, what their mission and value is, and how they can engage as partners. They talk about success strategies and principles of great partnerships, and they also share their personal and professional background. And you can learn from these amazing leaders. These are chief executives, corporate vice presidents at Microsoft and other big technology companies. How did they get to that spot in their career? So the Ultimate Guide to Partnering is a great way to learn more. And then also you can reach out to me. If you go to the site, you can hit Let's Get Started, and you can book time with me to learn more about working with the Ultimate Guide to Partnering or Ultimate Partnerships and the coaching. I speak at events. I do a lot of public speaking to organizations to help coach them up on how to be successful in this space. And then I also do personal one-on-one and workshop type coaching for organizations.
Wonderful. UltimateGuidetoPartnering.com. If Microsoft their business comes from their partners. The 95% you mentioned.
90% of all Microsoft's revenue comes through partners. Yes.
If it's good enough for Microsoft, it's good enough for you. So you owe it to yourself. Ultimate guide to partnering.com with our guest Vince. Vince, we are about to wrap up. I would like you to share about today's guest experience on a Growth Hacking Secret show. Here is my question. What would you say about your today's guest experience on a Growth Hacking Secret show?
Well, Siddique, I would just say thank you so much for inviting me. This is a great forum for people to learn more about how to grow their business, especially now during this time, like no other. People are looking for secrets and advice to build their businesses, to build themselves up, right? We all need to be stronger. We all have the opportunity to be leaders during this time. This is a time like no other. And I believe that we have a choice to make. And I think what you're doing is really helping people on the right track to having the right mindset, to deciding what they're going to do better and differently to make their lives and their careers better. So thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Really appreciated, Vince. What would you say as a final word?
I would just say partnering is a key lever to success. Partnering is so fundamental to everything we do. Relationships are so important. I think it's something that's innate in all of us. So I would say, think about the partnerships that you have and if you're looking for ways to improve them, come see us.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. On the behalf of Growth Hacking Secrets community and our entire team, we really appreciate you. This is Muhammad Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. Until the next episode, all good wishes.
Thank you so much.